Woo! NFL full slate Sunday is going down. Can you feel me? Anyway, we got some matchups. Now I will say, week one is sort of really difficult to try to get any type of real picks done. Like, like at least like you need at least a little something. Like I don't really care too much about what you've seen in preseason. I was like, all we got is really these acquisitions and who's on who teams. And I'm like, this is really the first week is really a crapshoot because you don't know. We got a good thought of how people are gonna play. We got a good thinking of what the matchups might be, but sometimes what happened last year isn't necessarily going to happen the next year, especially with different coaches, different teams, different players. That it's really hard to do these first week. But I still think that you can give a good rough estimate because I was like, especially with the top, nothing really changes. But let's get into it. We got Cardinals and Bills, and I was like, it's to me. I was like, I'm gonna go with the Bills. I think the Cardinals. I think it'll make this entertaining. I think it's gonna be closer than what it might seem. But I just think the Cardinals are actually a pretty decent team. I think last year that building upon that, I was like Kyler Murray being that special that I'm like I was like to be honest, his offense is like even though like I was like his offense he's gonna be in the same spot as sort of Josh Allen where they both got a guy that's like in the second year of the offense. They really don't have the plethora of weapons. They got a good run game. I was like, I think right now that the defense for the Bills is a lot better, a little bit more cohesion with a good amount of their players. That's why I think they might be able to pull out. It's basically to me, this one is really like, who do you feel of Josh Allen and Kyler Murray? And the thing is I think Kyle Murray is really sort of that special that he can really negate what Josh Allen really does at times. But I'm gonna go here with Josh Allen. I think he's just gonna be able to do more on the ground, in a way that I think will carry them over the edge, at least for I was like in this first week. Then we got the Dolphins versus the Jags. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins, duh. But at the same time, I just think that their offense is as healthy as can be right now. I was like, and I was just like at the beginning of the year, beginning of the season, they're always a terror to play. I was like, I feel like the Jags got really a lot of questions, really a lot more than the Dolphins. Like the Dolphins really more just so like it's just injuries really on their defense. Otherwise, they pretty much got their team there intact. And I was like, I feel like they're just going to be able to rush past all that stuff on the Jaguars. It's really just going to see how that offense, how they just sort of click. They were sort of having a little like up and down year. Um, and I was like to see how that defense comes together as well. I was like, you got Josh Allen there, you got Eric Armstead up front, and that will create a problem for Tua because they're really big and imposing figures up on that line, and that's I will say Tua's weakness is that kind of thing. But guess what? We sort of scheme around it with screen, getting the ball out fast and things like that. And you just got to give it to the playmakers' hand and let them do business. So I was like, I'm gonna give it more so to the Dolphins here. Panthers versus Saints. I actually really don't know how this really could go. It's very easy to say the Saints, and I guess I'll probably throw it at them just because they got more veterans and people on their squad than the Carolina Panthers, who is basically just kind of like reshaping nearly the whole team in a way for Bryce Young. But I do think that Bryce Young playing like it was just a bad situation last year. In a way, sort of like Trevor Lawrence with the Jaguar, that I think that he will do a lot better here. And I was like, I think they played him pretty close last year at the same time. So I can actually see the Panthers pulling this off. I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and give it to the Saints just because like while they're not spectacular on offense. They're not. They're not just gonna not be able to score either. I mean, like yes, they have it at times, but they was able to sort of pick it up. So I was like, I at least will give them the benefit of the doubt here in that sense. Bengals and Pats. I'm getting into the Bengals. I don't know. We know what this Pats team is going to be with the amount of they really weren't good last year, and they're really sort of the same team. If you and be honest, maybe a little bit worse. Um, yeah, and I was like, and I think the Bengals, despite not probably having Jamar Chase there, you still got Higgins, and Higgins is basically a number one target. Joe Burrow being back and being probably as healthy as he's going to be. And that defense is, I was like, has always been able to be pretty, I was like, stable here, even though they've had injuries to different DBs in the back and stuff like that. They're really good up front. So I could see them versus this past team with Jacoby Brissett. Didn't matter with him or Drake May. You don't really know who the weapons are either. That I'm going to give it to the Bengals just in spite of all that. Steelers and Falcons. I think this will be a really good matchup. It's seeming like Russ is not going to play, and it's going to be Justin Fields. I was going to go with the Steelers regardless, but this now is really boom or bust. I was like, with Russell Wilson, whether you think he's plateaued or worse, you sort of still know what you're sort of getting. And with that Steelers defense, that's what I'm counting on. Like, yes, Atlanta. I think Atlanta defense is good, but we just got to see how that offense really looks. But with Justin Fields in the mode, you have a really high ceiling of what the offense can do. Can they really stop if they decide to do the whole rushing game with him and passing? That I was like, I think you give a little bit more dynamic ability to it. So I was like, I think I'm gonna go with the Steelers because I was like, with their defense alone, I was like, and then also the fact that their offense, at the very least, it gives you more options. And I was like, we'll see if Atlanta can handle that. Because, like I said, Atlanta's defense is good, but it ain't good. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Steelers and Justin Fields getting the win. I was like, Kirk Cousins, like I said, we got to see. I was like, yes, they got, Pitts, London, Bijan, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to just click at that very beginning as well, too. Colts and Texans, I think it's going to be a really close game. I'm going to give it to the Texans just because I was like, I think that they got so many weapons on offense that it's going to be intriguing to see if the Colts defense can do anything with that. Because to be honest, I was like, I really feel like this is going to be an Anthony Richardson game, Taylor game type of where the offense got to really carry them in this situation. But the defense for the Texans is really good. And I was like, D'Amico Ryans, I was like, especially after how you seen so he play like Lamar Jackson, I'm like, he's going to try to cook up the same thing for Anthony Richardson. But I was like, I think it will be a close game because I think Richardson is that dude to keep them close. But I was like, I'm going to give it to C.J. Stroud with the Texans. Titans and Bears, we're going to go with the Bears. I think they're more talented than the Titans. I was like, don't get me wrong, I was like, the offense for the Titans is not necessarily like too shabby or nothing like that. They do got D-Hop and stuff. So I was like, Will Levis could keep it close. And I was like, and we don't know what we're going to fully get out of Caleb Williams. His first game, he can have jitters. He could be throwing some erratic balls early on that can throw it off. But I was like, if you believe that their defense is close to being like how it was last year, I think that's sort of what gives them the edge. And I was like, I don't think even Caleb Williams does sort of struggle or have rookie jitters. I like, he has too many weapons on his team in order for it to fail or crash out. So I'm gonna go with the Bears for this one. Vikings and Giants, I'm gonna give it to the Vikings. Don't get me wrong, I was like, the Giants could win this because I was like, I'm not being really trustworthy of Sam Darnold just as much as Daniel Jones. So it's really kind of like Neighbors, Jefferson, Addison, who are the playmakers getting the ball. And I was like, Minnesota just had a lot more, I think, weapons at their disposal. I was like, the defense to me are really sort of about the same, just like they're decent kind of thing. Yeah, but I was like, I give it to the Vikings just because I'm like, I feel like their coach is just going to probably have better weapons to utilize than the Giants are. Broncos and Seahawks. I was like, I see this as a real shoot 'em out type of game with Geno and whatever Sean Payton is going to cook up with Bo Nix. I was like, I got the Seahawks here to pull it out. I think overall, I was like, I think that their offense is just more potent, despite what Payne might try to scheme up. I think their defense is going to really improve this year as well, too, that I think that it's going to basically be able to keep Bo Nix more so at bay because they're very athletic. So Bo Nix and all his running and stuff like that. Like I'm not saying it won't work. I'm just saying they got more team to get with them in that type of sense. Raiders Chargers. I think it's also going to be a pretty close game. Just I was like, neither good nor bad. I was like, I just because I was like, don't get me wrong, the Chargers defense should be a lot better with Harbaugh. And I was like, the way they want to play on offense will make a lot of sense to where I could see them getting. I was like, I think they'll get the win over the Raiders. But I was like, the Raiders pretty much sort of still have a little bit of the same defense. It's really just what do the offense bring. I think that's what's going to be looked at, especially considering like you're getting the guy from Chicago and how they was with that offense is a little like up and down. So we got to see how they implement everything. But I was like, I think the Chargers will just get the ball here just because Harbaugh normally plays like defense, run the ball. And don't get me wrong, I was like, I know Antonio Pierce is the same way. I was like, it's just one of those. All right, at this point, Gardner Minshew versus Herbert, but who is Herbert throwing to versus Minshew having Devontae Adams and dude from the I was like, dude that used to be on the Patriots, escaping my head, but and I was like, and they never mind, they also got Brock Bowers and they got a good amount of offense. Now I was like, you know what? I think the Raiders pull out a win. I think a Raider pull out a win. Yeah, I know changing. I was like, I'm gonna go with Gardner Minshew moxie. That's what I'm gonna go with in this situation. Commanders and Bucks. I'm gonna go with the Commanders. I was like, they're my surprise team this year. I was like, I think they're gonna really hit the ground running. I think they're gonna catch a lot of people off guard. I was like, that defense. I was like, I think Dan Quinn are gonna have that defense going. I think on offense, I think they got enough weapons. I was like, also the Bucks have lost quite a bit of what made that defense what it was. So it's going to probably be a minute until they get back to being ripe. The offense is going to be fine. I think the offense is going to be fine. I was just like, but I'm just going off matchups of like, okay, their Bucks offense versus the Commanders defense. I was like, that's going to be a battle to where it's like I think Daniels is going to be that good with the Commanders. That I was like going against the Bucks defense that still might be trying to figure out spots because I was like, don't worry, they still got the safety linebacker, they got like corner stuff like that. But I'm like, if they could, I was like, if Cliff Kingsbury can cook up something. And I was like, I do think that he's a good offensive coordinator. We'll see about necessarily the him coaching. Now I was like, now that's different than being the coordinator. So I'm gonna go with the Commanders in this situation. The Cowboys versus the Browns. I'm gonna go with the Cowboys. Man, one, cause I don't know what we're gonna get out of Deshaun Watson. I don't know what we're gonna do here. I don't think that this is going. I think this is going to be an edging out victory, just because that offensive line going against the Cleveland Browns defense, who already sort of got them last year when they had people that you actually knew. Where like a lot now this year with some new people there, I'm like, the Browns going to wreck shop. But I was like, I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a close game. I think Dak will do just enough. I know they talk about the backs, but I think the backs, especially in like pad protection, would be good enough. Just because I was like, and they might scheme us a spot. I was like, it's really just, I don't know if you're gonna get on offense. I know you could say like they had so many quarterbacks that they were still able to win and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but those quarterbacks also to me play better than Deshaun Watson. That he sort of is the negative piece in a way where it's like, outside of like 2 games, he didn't play well, and I was like, that could be the sinking ship to the whole thing. But I was like, I'm gonna give it to the Cowboys just barely. Then last we got the Rams versus the Lions. I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna give it to the Lions. I think they've already proved in matchups that they play pretty close, but at a certain point, I was like, that offense can only do so much with the Rams. And I think the Lions, I was like, look, they know how they want to run the ball. They know the passes they're doing. They got better on defense, and I think that's the biggest upgrade in this situation where I'm like, their defense that even had them in games, it gotten better to play. I was like, with their offense that I was like should get better. You know, when Williams being there the whole season and stuff like that, not serving a suspension, being in with them the whole time. Jamar Gibbs, I was like, now in the second year, I think they have the firepower now to, on both sides now, to match up with anybody. And I was like, I think the Rams, I think they'll have it on offense. Still got, I was like, see what the defense really does. But I was like, I'm gonna go here with the Lions. But yeah, like I said, those are the picks. It's really sort of hard to do picks on the first week when there's really not too much there than just sort of paper. You know, at the same time, hey, if you lose some bets, it's not my fault. Anyway, anywho, that will be what I do. I bid you adieu. Goodbye. We will see how everything goes after a Sunday of football. Being back. Yes, let's go.